So this is our belt sander. We have one set up for vertical and one set up for horizontal over there. When you're using this, there's any number of different applications. You can use it by pressing your material down into the fence to keep it square, and you can round out or sand down different surfaces. You can use the end of this to get curves, and you can change the direction in order to take those edges off, or you can keep it nice and straight to keep it a crisp edge. Sanders will come in a number of different grits. Right now this has a fine grit belt on it. If you need to remove material rapidly, you don't want a fine grit. You generally start with 60 or 80 or 120 maybe, and that'll rough off, take out the general amount of material. Then you build up in grit. The higher the number, the finer the grit. You don't want to skip grits. When you're done, you'll take the cleaning block. It's basically like a giant eraser, and you'll run it across here to remove any of the sawdust, pine, or pitch that might be stuck in the sanding blade. You're not stopping the machine with this. Some people will and they'll eat this up really quickly. Leave it on, run it across the blade several times as it's rotating to make sure that the whole thing is clean. Turn the machine off, and then put this back. It's generally in the vicinity. It's got a little hole in it. It's usually hanging right here, right next to it. Each of the sanders should have something like this. All right, you turn it on. This is not, it doesn't seem dangerous. It's really not all that dangerous. I've touched the sanding disc. It takes your skin off, right? It's like hitting the deck on your skateboard. The concrete is the grit of the sandpaper. It's generally around 36 grit, so it's going to take the skin off quicker. This is still dangerous though, so we want to treat it with reverence. None of the tools in here are dangerous if they're used properly, right? So you shouldn't fear them. You should have reverence for them though, and know that they can be dangerous if you don't use them properly. If you ever have any questions, just ask. Pretty straightforward. You will not always, won't get it completely clean. You basically never will. You can see here when I rocked it side to side, I was able to smooth it around that edge. You can see here I smoothed out the tip, and then I rocked it back and forth. I'm not going to sit in one place, because that means I'm using one little thin strip of this. I'm going to move it across the whole surface as it's spinning, so I'm maximizing the surface area that I'm covering. Otherwise I'll jam up this sanding disc, and it makes the sanding disc less effective. This is called the spindle sander. There's a number of different spindles that you can put in it, different sizes. In order to do that, you will open this up. We have a couple of wrenches here. And there should be 2 wrenches. Looks like they're missing. There's one that goes at the arbor and one that goes on the arbor nut. And you'll see that this is the arbor. This is the arbor nut. You'll have one here and one on here to loosen them. I can pick which one of my spindles I want. I want this size and or grit. There's a bunch of different grits. If you need to change this, just ask. I'll screw this down in. I generally only hand tighten these because if they're set up properly, they should be tightening as I'm using it. I want to use the correlating spindle guard. Where's the other guards? This stuff for the lathe. There should be, are they hanging on the side?
There's a wooden one for the right-hand side of the cabinet.
There we go. So it looks like we've made this for the larger ones. We must have lost the metal one. I'm going to go ahead and set this here. It's generally in this vicinity. When I turn this on, this is going to spin, but it's also going to rock up and down. So it's doing some of the stuff that I was having to do manually. This is really good if I have a hole cut in something and I want to stay on the inside of it, because I can't get inside of a hole with that. I can set this down into this with this on the outside, being able to stay on the inside of something. Some people just like these better. I don't mind if you use the upper portion of this. You don't have to be on the bed, but know that it's not going to be square. So you can see that edge is nice and smooth now. We'll get to cleaning that. We'll grab a rubber block and clean that too. Disc sander is over here. This is generally set up with a very heavy grit sandpaper. You can go either direction now. When we change the motor on this, there's a direction, there's a plug, there's a switch on here that will change the direction, and a switch that will turn it on and off. Joe has it marked with a little metal safety clip that says on and off. So we also have a rubber block here for cleaning this up. If it's spinning in this direction, I will only use from the center to this side. If I come over here and it's spinning this direction, it's going to pick it up and slam it down. It's going to scare the crap out of me, maybe pinch me. I can adjust with pretty much any of these sanders. I can adjust the tilt of the table so that I can get an angle on my material. So if I want to set exact angle, or I had a 45 miter, but I actually accidentally set it up as a 46 degree, and I don't want to go back and try to cut it just because I need to shave a tiny bit off. I can set this to 45, and I can sand it in, removing the least amount of material as possible. This is a 60 grit, I believe, on here. So generally we're only doing really kind of coarse work with this. This spins really fast, and it spins freely, so it won't stop. You can push this guard back in order to get in here to do certain things. We generally keep this forward. It's only when we're changing discs out that we kind of move that. So I'll go ahead and turn this on. And you'll see just how quickly I can remove this material. So I've removed that really quickly compared to the other one. That's because this is a 60 grit. And when I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. And it doesn't stop because it doesn't have an electronic brake. At this point, I can take the material, the cleaning material, and kind of just lightly run it across the surface. Don't be tempted to push your material into this to stop it because it's still spinning. Slow it down a little bit when you clean it, but just leave it spinning, and hopefully the person that comes up behind you notices, or stay with it until it stops spinning. I've seen this spin for 15 minutes after somebody turned it off if they didn't use the cleaning stuff to slow it down. And then this is our other horizontal sander. It works just like the other belt sander. It's just horizontal, and we can set our material on here, and we can sand it just by holding onto the piece of material. see where it was flat, it's hitting it nice and smooth. This is the resaw marks from the saw is still there. So this is when I would have taken and sent it through a planer. I can send this through a planer as long as this is beyond 12 inches. I don't want to be doing a lot of carving or moving things, removing material when after, so I want to plane, and then I want to come in and cut with the bandsaw, not the other way around. So I would probably have to get a hand plane out to plane these resaw marks if I had, or sand them down if I had already cut with my bandsaw and I wanted to smooth this out. All right, we're gonna go ahead and cut on that one. I'm gonna show you guys a table saw and the straw saw. We've done the drill press, but I probably should show you this drill press, but I don't have a drill. There's very